No one in the outer colonies cared about the crying sounds coming from the asteroid belt. In a place where broken ships drifted like grave markers and silence ruled the vacuum, strange noises were usually a bad sign, either a trap or something far worse. That's why every cargo pilot, every scavenger, every patrol ship ignored the faint distress signals echoing through Sector 9. Everyone, except one human. Captain Adrian Cole wasn't known for making smart decisions, at least, not the kind that kept you alive in deep space. He flew an old, patched-up freighter called the Wandering Hope, a ship held together by stubbornness and scrap metal. His life had been simple. Take contracts, haul cargo, avoid trouble. But something about that signal, it wasn't just noise. It sounded alive, soft, desperate. You're gonna get yourself killed one day, his onboard AI muttered as the signal grew stronger on the console. Adrian leaned forward, narrowing his eyes at the flickering display. Yeah, probably, he replied casually. But not today. The asteroid field loomed ahead, jagged rocks spinning slowly in the dark, their surfaces reflecting faint starlight. Adrian guided the ship carefully, weaving between debris with practiced precision. The signal intensified, resolving into something clearer, high-pitched sounds almost like cries. His grip tightened on the controls. That's not a beacon, he whispered. That's something alive. The ship's sensors finally locked onto the source, a fractured asteroid with a hollow core. Thermal readings flickered weakly inside. Life signs. Multiple. Small. No way, Adrian muttered. Out here. He brought the ship to a slow halt, hovering near the asteroid's cracked surface. The hull scanner revealed a narrow opening, barely large enough for a person to squeeze through. You're not seriously going in there, the AI said, its tone sharper now. Adrian grabbed his helmet, already moving. If something's alive in there, I'm not leaving it to die. That's how horror stories start, the AI warned. Relax, Adrian smirked. I'm the idiot who survives those. Moments later, he was inside. The interior of the asteroid was eerily warm, a stark contrast to the freezing void outside. Dim light pulsed along the walls, faintly glowing veins running through the rock like a heartbeat. Adrian stepped carefully, his boots crunching against loose debris as the sounds grew louder. Soft, desperate, unmistakably cries. Then he saw them. 3 small creatures huddled together in the center of the hollow chamber. Their bodies curled tightly as they shivered. They were no bigger than cats, their scales dull and cracked, their tiny wings pressed against their sides. Their eyes, glowing faintly gold, snapped toward Adrian the moment he stepped closer. He froze. You've got to be kidding me, he whispered. Baby dragons. Real ones. In space. The creatures recoiled at first, letting out weak hisses, their tiny flames flickering uselessly against the cold. But there was no real threat in them, only fear. Adrian slowly lowered himself to one knee, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. Hey, easy, he said softly, his voice echoing slightly in the enclosed space. I'm not here to hurt you. The smallest of the 3 let out a faint chirp, its body trembling as it struggled to lift its head. Adrian's chest tightened. They weren't just scared. They were starving. What happened to you guys? He murmured, glancing around. That's when he noticed the remains. Scattered across the edges of the chamber were fragments of something much larger. Scales, broken and charred, embedded deep into the rock. A dragon. An adult. Dead. His expression darkened. Someone did this, he said quietly. The realization hit him hard. These weren't just lost creatures. They were survivors. Orphans. And whatever had killed their parent had left them here to die. One of the hatchlings stumbled forward weakly, its small claws scraping against the stone as it approached Adrian. It stopped just inches away, looking up at him with wide, glowing eyes. Then, in a motion so small yet so powerful it nearly broke him, it reached out, begging. Adrian's breath caught. He had seen a lot in his life, war zones, abandoned colonies, people at their worst. But this was different. These weren't just animals. They understood. They were asking for help. Damn it, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. I really don't need this. The hatchling chirped again, weaker this time, its tiny body swaying. Adrian closed his eyes for a moment, then let out a slow breath. Yeah, all right, he said quietly. You win. He reached forward carefully, scooping the smallest hatchling into his arms. It was lighter than he expected, its body warm but fragile, like it might break if he held it too tightly. The other two watched, hesitant but hopeful. I'm getting you out of here, Adrian said firmly. All of you. As if understanding his words, the hatchling in his arms let out a soft, relieved sound, its eyes slowly closing as it leaned against him. Adrian swallowed hard, standing up with renewed determination. You hear that? He said, glancing toward the exit. You just signed me up for something big. Back aboard the Wandering Hope, the AI immediately reacted. Oh no, it said flatly. Absolutely not. You did not just bring unknown alien organisms onto this ship. Adrian removed his helmet, gently placing the hatchling on a blanket he quickly spread across the floor. Relax, he said. They're harmless. They are dragons, the AI replied. There is no version of that sentence where harmless applies. Adrian chuckled softly, watching as the other two hatchlings hesitantly approached, curling up beside their sibling. Yeah, he admitted. Maybe not. The smallest one opened its eyes again, looking up at him. Then, slowly, it let out a tiny chirp, and a faint flicker of flame danced at the tip of its snout. Adrian smiled. But they needed help, he said. The AI was silent for a moment, then sighed digitally. You realize this changes everything, right? Adrian looked at the three small creatures now sleeping peacefully for the first time in who knew how long. His expression shifted, something deeper settling in his gaze. Yeah, he said quietly. I think it does. Outside, the asteroid belt drifted silently, unaware that a single decision, a human choosing to help instead of ignore, had just set something massive into motion. Because those weren't just baby dragons. They were the beginning of a story that would ripple across stars, challenge empires, and change the galaxy itself. And it all started with a single act of compassion. The moment Adrian sealed the airlock behind him, the Wandering Hope felt different. Not physically, but in a way he couldn't quite explain, as if the ship itself was aware that something extraordinary had just entered its walls. The three hatchlings lay curled together on the blanket he had hastily spread near the main console, their small bodies rising and falling in uneven breaths, exhaustion finally overcoming fear. For the first time since he found them, they were still. Adrian crouched beside them, studying their fragile forms more closely. Up close, the damage was clearer. Their scales weren't just dull, they were cracked in places, edges chipped as if they had been exposed to extreme force or energy. Their wings were underdeveloped, almost translucent near the edges, trembling slightly even in sleep. They shouldn't have survived that asteroid, Adrian murmured. Not alone. Correction, the AI replied from the ship's overhead speakers, its tone calm but analytical. Statistically, they should be dead. Adrian shot a glance upward. Thanks for the optimism. I am stating facts, the AI said, which you are actively ignoring as usual. Adrian smirked faintly but didn't respond. His focus returned to the hatchlings. One of them, the smallest, the one that had reached out to him, shifted slightly, letting out a faint whimper. Without thinking, Adrian reached out and gently placed a hand near it. The reaction was immediate. A faint warmth spread from the hatchling's body, stronger than before, and the tiny creature instinctively curled closer to his hand, as if seeking comfort. Adrian's expression softened. Yeah, you're gonna be trouble, he whispered. I can already tell. The AI hummed thoughtfully. You are forming an attachment. No, Adrian said quickly. I'm just making sure they don't die. That is how attachments begin. Adrian sighed. Can you not psychoanalyze me for 5 minutes? Negative. He shook his head, standing up. All right, first things first. Food. You have no known dietary data for dragons, the AI pointed out. Exactly, Adrian said. So we improvise. He moved to the storage compartments, rummaging through supplies. Dried rations, nutrient packs, water. None of it seemed right. He paused, thinking, then glanced back at the hatchlings. One of them stirred again, its tiny snout twitching slightly. Then it opened its mouth, and a weak flicker of flame slipped out. Adrian blinked. "Fire," he said slowly. "They breathe fire even like this." "Observation confirmed," the AI replied. "Highly inefficient fire output, indicating extreme weakness." Adrian snapped his fingers. "Heat. They need heat." He quickly adjusted the ship's internal temperature controls, raising the ambient warmth. Then he grabbed a small portable heater used for engine repairs and placed it near the hatchlings, careful not to overwhelm them. The effect was immediate. The 3 hatchlings stirred, their bodies relaxing as the warmth surrounded them. Their breathing steadied, and the faint glow in their eyes brightened slightly. "There we go," Adrian said quietly, kneeling beside them again. "That's better, isn't it?" The smallest one opened its eyes, blinking up at him. For a moment it simply stared. Then, slowly, it let out a soft chirp. Not scared this time. Curious. Adrian smiled. "Hey," he said gently. "Welcome aboard." The hatchling tilted its head slightly, as if trying to understand him. Then it shifted closer, pressing against his leg. The other 2 followed, less hesitant now, drawn by the warmth, and perhaps something else. "Trust." Adrian exhaled slowly. "Okay. This is happening," he muttered. The AI spoke again, its tone more serious now. "Captain, there is another issue you are ignoring." Adrian glanced up. "There's always another issue. Go ahead." "The source of their condition," the AI said. "You observed remains of an adult dragon. That implies hostile engagement. The question is, who or what is capable of killing a dragon in deep space?" Adrian's expression darkened. He had been avoiding that thought. "Hunters," he said quietly. "Or worse." "Agreed," the AI replied. "And if they were hunting dragons, they may still be in the sector." As if on cue, the ship's sensors pinged sharply. Adrian froze. "Don't tell me." "Incoming signal," the AI confirmed. "Unidentified vessel entering the asteroid field. Trajectory suggests active scanning." Adrian's jaw tightened. "They're looking for something. Or someone," the AI added. Adrian looked down at the hatchlings. They had sensed it too. Their small bodies tensed, faint growls rumbling in their throats despite their weakness. The smallest one pressed closer to him, trembling slightly. Adrian's decision came instantly. "We're leaving," he said. "Now." He rushed to the pilot's seat, strapping in as the engines hummed to life. The asteroid field loomed around them, but he didn't hesitate. "Plot a course out of Sector 9, he ordered. "Fastest route." "Course plotted," the AI replied. "Warning. Unknown vessel accelerating. They are pursuing." Adrian smirked slightly, gripping the controls. "Good," he said. "Let's make this interesting." The ship surged forward, weaving through the asteroids with precision. Behind them, a sleek, dark vessel emerged from the shadows, its engines flaring as it gave chase. "They're fast," Adrian muttered. "Faster than us," the AI corrected. "Then we outfly them," Adrian said. He pushed the engines harder, the ship rattling slightly under the strain. The hatchlings let out small, distressed sounds from behind him, the sudden movement and tension unsettling them. "Hang on," Adrian said under his breath, though he knew they couldn't understand. The enemy ship closed in, its silhouette sharp and predatory. A pulse of energy shot past them, narrowly missing the hull. "They're firing," the AI reported unnecessarily. "Yeah, I noticed," Adrian snapped, banking hard to the left as another shot streaked by. The asteroid field became a blur of motion as he maneuvered through tight gaps, forcing the larger vessel to follow or risk collision. "You're insane," the AI said. "That's why I'm still alive," Adrian replied. Another shot clipped a nearby asteroid, sending fragments spinning through space. One chunk slammed into the Wandering Hope, jolting the ship violently. Hull integrity at 87%, the AI reported. We can't keep this up, Adrian muttered. He glanced back at the hatchlings and froze. They were glowing. Not just faintly, brightly. Their small bodies pulsed with light, their eyes blazing gold. The smallest one lifted its head, letting out a sharp, determined chirp. Then, in perfect unison, all three hatchlings released a burst of flame, not outward but upward, into the ship itself. Adrian's eyes widened. What are you? The flames didn't burn. They merged, flowing through the ship systems like energy, like fuel. The engine's hum changed instantly, growing deeper, stronger. Energy spike detected, the AI said, its tone shifting to something almost like surprise. Unknown power source integrating with core systems. Adrian stared at the controls as they lit up. They're powering the ship? Impossible, the AI said. And yet it is occurring. The ship surged forward suddenly, faster than before, the acceleration pushing Adrian back into his seat. The pursuing vessel fell behind, unable to match the sudden burst of speed. Adrian let out a breathless laugh. You've got to be kidding me. He glanced back at the hatchlings. They had collapsed again, the glow fading as quickly as it had appeared, but they looked calmer, stronger. You three, he said softly. You're not just survivors, are you? The AI remained silent for a moment, then spoke quietly. Captain, if this capability can scale? Adrian nodded slowly, understanding dawning. Yeah, he said. It won't just change things. He looked out at the stars ahead, his grip tightening on the controls. It'll change everything. The silence that followed their escape wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, charged with the kind of tension that comes after something impossible happens and no one knows what it means yet. Adrian kept both hands firmly on the controls of the Wandering Hope, though the ship now glided smoothly through open space, far beyond the asteroid field. Behind him, the three hatchlings lay motionless again, their small bodies curled together, but this time there was a difference. The faint golden glow beneath their scales hadn't completely disappeared. It pulsed softly, like embers waiting to ignite again. Adrian exhaled slowly. All right, he muttered. I think we need to talk about what just happened. Agreed. The AI responded immediately. The probability of 3 weakened organisms spontaneously integrating with a starship's energy systems is effectively 0. Adrian smirked faintly. And yet, here we are. He leaned back slightly, glancing over his shoulder. They boosted the engines, not just a little. That felt like a full power override. Correction, the AI said. It exceeded the ship's maximum rated output by approximately 312%. Adrian blinked. Yeah, that's not normal. He stood up slowly and walked back toward the hatchlings, careful not to startle them. As he approached, the smallest one stirred again, lifting its head weakly. Its glowing eyes locked onto him, and this time, there was no fear in them, only recognition. Hey, Adrian said quietly, crouching down. You pulled off something insane back there. You know that? The hatchling chirped softly, its tiny tail flicking once. Adrian tilted his head. Yeah, I figured you wouldn't understand that. But something about the moment felt different. There was a connection now, fragile, undefined, but real. When he reached out his hand again, the hatchling didn't hesitate. It pressed its head gently against his palm, a soft warmth spreading through his skin. Adrian froze. This wasn't just heat. It was something else. Energy. Not wild or destructive, but controlled. Alive. His breath caught. AI, he said slowly. Scan this. Already in progress, the AI replied. A brief pause followed. Then, Captain, the energy signature matches what we recorded during the engine surge. Adrian's eyes narrowed. You're saying it's coming from them? Yes, and more specifically, the AI hesitated, something it almost never did. It appears to be responding to you. Adrian pulled his hand back slightly. What? The energy output increased when physical contact was made, the AI explained. There is a correlation between your proximity and their activity levels. Adrian stared at the hatchlings, his thoughts racing. That doesn't make sense. It does not align with known biological or technological principles. The AI agreed. However, the data is consistent. Adrian ran a hand through his hair. So what are you saying? That they're connected to me somehow? That is a plausible hypothesis. He let out a short laugh, though there was no humor in it. I picked them up an hour ago. And yet, the AI said, they trusted you immediately. They approached you first. They responded to you during the energy event. Adrian looked down again. The smallest hatchling was still watching him, its glowing eyes calm and steady. Not confused. Not afraid. Certain. This is bigger than I thought, he whispered. Before the AI could respond, the ship's sensors chimed again, this time more urgently. Adrian's head snapped up. Now what? Multiple signals detected, the AI said. 3 vessels. Larger than the previous one. They have just exited warp directly ahead of us. Adrian moved instantly, rushing back to the controls. The forward display lit up, revealing 3 massive ships blocking their path. Unlike the one that had chased them before, these weren't sleek hunters. They were warships, heavily armored, bristling with weapons, their hulls marked with a symbol Adrian recognized instantly. His expression hardened. No, he said under his breath. That's not good. Identify, the AI prompted. The Dominion, Adrian replied. They don't show up unless something valuable is involved. Or dangerous, the AI added. Adrian nodded grimly. Yeah, that too. The comm system crackled to life before he could react. A deep, authoritative voice filled the cockpit. Unidentified freighter, it said. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. You are in possession of assets that belong to the Dominion. Adrian's grip tightened. Assets, he repeated quietly. He glanced back at the hatchlings. They were awake now, all 3 of them, their bodies tense, low growls rumbling in their throats. They understood. Not the words, but the intent. Negative, Adrian said firmly, activating the comm. You've got the wrong ship. There was a brief pause. Then, scan confirms the presence of 3 draconic lifeforms aboard your vessel, the voice replied. Surrender them, and you will not be harmed. Adrian laughed dryly. Yeah, I've heard that one before. He cut the transmission before they could respond, turning to the AI. Options. Direct combat is not viable, the AI said immediately. Their combined firepower exceeds ours by a factor of... Yeah, I get it, Adrian interrupted. What else? Evasion is unlikely, the AI continued. They have already formed a blockade. Adrian's jaw clenched. For the first time since he found the hatchlings, doubt crept in. Not fear for himself, but for them. He looked back. The smallest one met his gaze again. And in that moment, something shifted. The faint glow returned, stronger this time. Not just from one. All 3. Adrian felt it before he saw it. A subtle hum in the air, a pressure building not outside the ship, but inside it. AI, he said slowly. Tell me you're seeing this. Confirmed, the AI replied. Energy levels rising rapidly. The hatchlings stood now, unsteady but determined. Their small wings spread slightly, their eyes blazing with golden light. Adrian stood as well, instinct guiding him more than logic. You're not running this time, are you? He said quietly. The smallest hatchling let out a sharp chirp, louder than before. Stronger. And then it stepped forward. Toward him. Adrian didn't move. As it reached him, it placed one tiny clawed foot against his boot. And suddenly everything exploded into light. Not destructive. Not chaotic. Controlled. The energy surged through the ship again. But this time it didn't just go to the engines. It spread everywhere. Systems lit up. Screens flickered with data far beyond their normal capacity. And Adrian felt it. Not just around him. Inside him. His breath hitched as something ancient and powerful brushed against his mind. Not forcing its way in, but connecting. A flood of images followed. Stars burning. dragons soaring through galaxies, empires rising and falling, and at the center of it all humans, standing beside dragons, not as masters, not as servants, but as equals. Adrian gasped, staggering slightly as the vision faded. The light dimmed, the hum subsided, and the ship returned to normal, if anything about this could be called normal. He looked down. The hatchlings were still there, but now the connection was undeniable. He could feel them, faintly but clearly, their fear, their determination, their trust. Adrian swallowed hard. "You chose me," he said softly. It wasn't a question. The smallest hatchling chirped again, its eyes glowing brighter for a brief moment. The AI spoke, its tone quieter than usual. "Captain, your neural patterns briefly synchronized with the energy field." Adrian let out a slow breath. "Yeah," he said. "I noticed." He turned back toward the front display. The 3 Dominion warships still waited, their weapons charged, their presence overwhelming. But Adrian's expression had changed. He wasn't just a cargo pilot anymore. He wasn't alone anymore. He placed his hand back on the controls, a faint smile forming. "All right," he said. "Let's show them what happens when they mess with the wrong human." Behind him, 3 small dragons stood, no longer just survivors, but something far greater. And together, they were about to challenge an empire. The Dominion warships didn't move at first, but that was the most dangerous part. They weren't rushing, weren't panicking. They were waiting, calculating, certain that whatever stood before them was already theirs. Adrian sat still in the pilot's seat, one hand resting lightly on the controls, the other gripping the edge of the console as if anchoring himself to reality. Behind him, the hatchlings remained standing, their small forms glowing steadily now, no longer flickering like dying embers but burning with quiet, controlled intensity. The connection between them hadn't faded, it had deepened. He could feel it in the back of his mind, like a second heartbeat that didn't belong to him, yet somehow did. Their fear was still there, but it was no longer overwhelming. It had been replaced by something stronger. Resolve. "Captain," the AI said carefully, "the Dominion vessels are charging their primary weapons." Adrian nodded slowly. "Yeah," he replied. "I figured they wouldn't just let us leave." The comm system crackled again, the same cold voice returning, now edged with impatience. "This is your final warning," it said. "Surrender the draconic entities immediately, or you will be destroyed." Adrian leaned back slightly, glancing over his shoulder at the 3 hatchlings. The smallest one met his gaze again, its golden eyes unwavering. No hesitation, no doubt, just trust. Adrian let out a quiet breath. "Yeah," he said under his breath. "Not happening." He reached forward and cut the comm without responding. The AI paused for a fraction of a second. "That was strategically unwise." Adrian smirked faintly. "Probably." He tightened his grip on the controls. "But I've got a feeling we're not playing by their rules anymore." As if responding to his words, the hatchlings let out a low, unified sound. Not quite a roar, not quite a cry, but something deeper. The energy in the ship surged again, stronger than before, but this time it didn't overwhelm him. It aligned with him. Adrian straightened slightly as the sensation flowed through him, clearer now, more focused. It wasn't just power. It was direction, understanding. "AI," he said, his voice steady. "Route all system access to manual override." "Captain." "Do it." A brief pause. Then, manual override engaged. The controls in front of him shifted, screens reconfiguring, systems unlocking far beyond their normal limits. Adrian's eyes moved quickly, but not blindly. The knowledge was there somehow impossibly. He knew what to do. "Weapons?" he asked. "Minimal," the AI replied. "Standard defense turrets only." Adrian nodded. "That'll do." Outside, the Dominion ships began to move, their weapons glowing brighter as energy built to critical levels. The lead ship adjusted its position slightly, lining up a direct shot. "They're firing in 3-2. "Now," Adrian said quietly. He moved, Not like before, not like a pilot reacting, but like someone who already knew what was coming. The wandering hope surged forward at the exact moment the first blast fired, slipping through the narrowest gap between converging energy beams. The movement was precise, impossible. Trajectory deviation beyond predicted limits, the AI said, almost stunned. Adrian didn't respond. He was focused completely. The hatchling's energy flowed through the ship, enhancing every system, every response. He could feel the engines as if they were part of him, feel the ship turning before he even gave the command. Another volley fired. Adrian rolled the ship sharply, spinning between blasts, using the enemy's own fire to create openings. One beam clipped the edge of a Dominion vessel, forcing it to pull back slightly. "You're using their attack patterns against them," the AI observed. "I'm improvising," Adrian replied, though even he knew it was more than that. He wasn't just reacting. He was anticipating. The smallest hatchling let out a sharp cry, and the ship responded instantly. The engines flared brighter, the speed increasing again beyond safe limits. Power levels exceeding structural tolerance, the AI warned. "Yeah," Adrian said, "but we're still holding." He pushed forward, heading straight toward the gap between the two closest warships. "You intend to break through," the AI said. "I intend to leave," Adrian corrected. The Dominion ships adjusted quickly, closing the gap, their movements coordinated, precise. They weren't going to let him pass. "Then we make our own path," Adrian said. Behind him, the hatchling's glow intensified once more. This time, the energy didn't just flow into the engines. It surged outward. The ship itself began to emit a faint golden aura, the hull shimmering as if wrapped in something unseen but powerful. "External energy field detected," the AI said. "Unknown properties." Adrian's eyes widened slightly. "They're shielding us?" "It appears so." The next volley hit. Directly. The impact should have torn the ship apart. Instead, the golden aura flared and held. The blast dissipated like water against stone. Adrian let out a breathless laugh. "Okay, that's new." The Dominion ships hesitated just for a moment. That was all he needed. "Hang on," Adrian said, gripping the controls tighter. He pushed the engines to their absolute limit. The wandering hope shot forward, straight through the narrowing gap, the golden field blazing as it deflected incoming fire. The hull groaned under the pressure, warning lights flashing across the console. "Structural integrity dropping," the AI reported. "We won't last long at this rate." "We don't need long," Adrian said. "Just enough." The gap closed behind them as they broke through, the Dominion ships scrambling to turn and pursue. But they were too slow. The distance was already growing. Adrian didn't stop. He pushed harder, driving the ship forward into open space. "Prepare for warp jump," he ordered. "Coordinates?" the AI asked. Adrian hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then, "Anywhere but here." "Calculating random jump vector," the AI said. "Done." The engines roared, the golden energy surging one last time as the hatchlings gave everything they had. The stars ahead stretched, bending into lines of light. "Warp in 3, 2, 1. The wandering hope vanished. Silence returned to the sector. The Dominion ships slowed, their weapons powering down as they scanned the empty space where their target had been. The voice from before spoke again, quieter now, but far more dangerous. "Track them," it said. "No matter where they go, we will find them." Far beyond their reach, the wandering hope dropped out of warp into an uncharted region of space. The ship drifted for a moment, systems flickering as the energy finally settled. Inside, Adrian slumped slightly in his seat, breathing heavily. "Status," he managed. "Systems stabilizing," the AI replied. "We are intact." Adrian let out a long breath, leaning back. "I'll take it." He turned slowly, looking at the hatchlings. They had collapsed again, their glow fading, their small bodies barely moving. But they were alive, still here. Adrian stood, walking over to them carefully. He knelt down, placing a hand gently beside the smallest one. It stirred weakly, letting out a soft, tired chirp. Adrian smiled faintly. "Yeah," he said quietly. "We made it." The connection between them was still there, faint, but unbroken. And now he understood something he hadn't before. This wasn't just about survival. This wasn't just about saving 3 hatchlings. This was the beginning of something far bigger. Because somewhere out there, others would come looking. Empires, hunters, entire fleets. And when they did, they wouldn't just find a human pilot. They would find a bond that shouldn't exist, power they couldn't control, and a future that was already starting to change. Adrian looked out at the endless stars ahead, his expression steady. "All right," he said softly. "Let's see where this goes."